Yeah, and I think I'm gonna want to come back to the survivors question. It's hard. I'm just being honest right now in the camera. It's hard for me to, I'm in a room with a lot of people and talking about my work with survivors, which means that I have to talk about myself as a survivor, and that's really intimate conversation. So if I curve and kind of make some circuitous movements around getting to what it is I'm trying to say, it's because I'm finding my way. So repeat the question that you just asked, please.
African tradition.
Yeah.
ATRs.
Okay. So African traditional religions, I'm going to speak from my experience and then I'm going to broaden it. So again, we're back to me being a survivor. And I should say a survivor of the culture of addiction, a survivor of the criminal justice system, because my children's father spent some time locked up, a survivor of emotional abuse, a survivor of, a survivor of the system. Let's just say that wages its war on our families. So in coming through all of that, there's clearly a need for some heavy-duty healing work. And I was not raised in the Christian church. My father felt that he did not want me to be raised in what he felt was a hypocritical institution, which that's what he felt about the Christian church. He was raised as a Christian, but he made a really conscious decision with my mother to not have me baptized or christened as a Christian. So I was encouraged to read. My religion was reading. My father would take me to bookstores all over DC. There was a time in DC where we had a lot of small black bookstores, and I was encouraged to read everything. When I was 13, I wrote a paper on voodoo in Haiti, and I convinced my father to buy me a book from Pyramid Bookstore called Voodoo in Haiti, and that was my research paper. I know my 8th grade English teacher was like, what is going on, you know? But for me, it was like I was fascinated by the idea that there were other systems, other religions, other ways of practicing spirituality that were available to me. So when I came out of my marriage, I went for my first reading in the Yoruba religion, in a Lukumi house that actually has roots in Bed-Stuy, but I was in the DMV area. And ever since that moment, I've been on a path through the Yoruba Lukumi system, through the Ifa system, and also through Palo Mayombe, where I'm an initiate as a Yayi in Kisi Molongo. I'm in Palo Mayombe and in a Petepi in Ifa. So my daily life is one of service to the Orisha, to Nkisi, to my ancestors. Every morning when I wake up, it's like a constant in my life. It's a constant practice. And one of the things that I think the practice has brought into my life has been a conscientiousness, a care about my relation to the earth, to the elements, and also to other people, living and dead. I feel like there's an inextricable link between my spiritual practice and my arts practice, because so much in these systems that I practice is about making offering. Your prayer is active. You make a prayer. It's more than your words, though it is also your words. Certainly, you know, like your words have power. Your words have ashe. They have the ability to manifest truth, to make phenomena. But in addition to that, when we are praying, when we are propitiating a certain energy, when we want to cultivate a certain energy in our lives, we make offerings, so we make something with our hands. You know, I can remember when I first came into the Lukumi practice, and I had to go get my Egun stick, my ancestor stick. I had to go walking in the woods to go find that stick. And then when I finally found the stick that talked to me, that I felt connected to, I had to decorate that stick with ribbons and bells. And I have some sticks that I've carved, you know, with a wood burner, and sticks that I've painted. So, you know, like just that one example, you know, or you build your Egon shrine, or maybe you have to make something or sew something. So that it's like, this is your spiritual practice, but it is also a creation of art, you know. And so I know that I see my arts practice as also being me making offering to spirit. For me, it's that way. I don't know if it's that way for everyone. You know, people have different approaches, but for me, it is that way. I think that it's interesting too, because we call this religion, but I really see it in truth as system and science. So like when I'm in the schools working with my students, I want to be able to share with my students the system and the science, because in working with Black and brown youth, we know that this system that is so, you know, has this such a voracious appetite for our people, you know, this system requires that they be prepared. And part of their preparation is having a foundation in their ancestors. Without a foundational understanding of your inextricable connection to your ancestors, it's very difficult to walk in the world with clarity, with intention, with an understanding of what has come behind you and where we're moving to. You know, I want to be able to share with my students plants that grow in their neighborhood that they can boil or strip down with their hands in some water till they get the juice out and use to spiritually clean themselves, to cool down when they're too hot. A lot of what we see going on out here in the street is because people are hot. They got so much energetic gunk piled up on them. They can't hear, can't see, can't tap into their own gut truth or hear their own spirit guides trying to guide them. They can't hear themselves think because of how much gunk the system has piled onto them. And so I'm often like really angered by this idea of this is a religion, because we are in a democracy where there's a separation of church and state, and I believe in that for a reason. But because we call these systems religions, there's a, you know, like we have a blockage of how we can share this information, you know, with our community, especially within institutions. Because I'm constantly, like when I'm talking to friends of mine who are therapists, you know, or who are social workers, who are also practitioners in these systems, who are like, you know, we really just need to give somebody a cooling bath, a white bath. We really just want to tell somebody you need to get some coconut water and some coconut milk and, you know, some goat milk, and put you some cascarilla in there, and put you some Florida water in there, and you need to take that joint cold and then put some white on and go to bed. And then you need to do that for 9 days, you know? Like we want to be able to tell people that so that then we can get them to the next step, which may be about something that isn't within the system, but just to get people to hear so they can receive the fullness of what they need, you know? That's something that frustrates me big time. That they've taken from us what keeps us well, and we can't quite figure out how to get that information to more people. I think social media has been good in some ways for these systems, and in other ways it's made it made it easier for people to be conned, or tricked. But I do love that we can share information more readily in these systems, and I think many people have learned in that way.
Thank you. Okay, the last question is, how do you want to be remembered in the future? Thinking